Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dimitria and I'm going to demonstrate and tell you exactly what you need to know about foundation. Because I don't know about you, but when I came out, I had no idea what foundation really was or what its purpose was and which ones I should really be looking out to get. I'm going to demonstrate the foundation I use, which is the lovely MAC Studio Fix Fluid, and the one that might work, but I don't like the feel of it, and it's not my skin tone. And the various ways to apply foundation, whether it be with a brush or with my favorite, a beauty blender. I use that one to get ready for this. Why don't we use a clean one? Obviously, you could use your fingers, but there are drawbacks to that depending on the one that you use. An important reason I wanted to make this video, and the reason I wanted to really start up this channel kind of now, we're all shut in, we're all, not really going out, we're not trying to impress whole lot of people. This is a good time to learn about things. This is the Skillshare time, I like to call it, where you should improve yourself. You should learn about things. All right, here's the deal. Foundation is kind of what it really is. It's the foundation. The same thing that foundation is for a house, foundation in cosmetics is pretty much the starting point. It's the base on which you build upon. You could say that foundation is to make a uniform, even color for the entire face. And it is also meant to cover up the flaws and imperfections. Now, when you are in a big rush, like a lot of people are when they're off to work, foundation might just work for you. It might be the one thing that is the big thing that you need. Now, to determine the right foundation for you, you have to have an understanding about quite a few things. And the first thing to understand is, what is your specific skin type? The first skin type is just normal. You're not too dry and you're not too oily. You have no or few imperfections, not much of a severe sensitivity to a lot of things, and that you have barely visible pores. So that is normal. Next is dry skin. If it happens in winter and your skin is just begging for moisture like mine does, you got some dry skin. Next is oily, obviously. If you got oily skin, you're gonna notice that. And lastly, there is what's called combination skin. This is where you can be dry and oily in different parts of your face. You could be oily in the T-zone and parts of your nose, but then on the other hand, your cheeks are showing a bit of redness and they're a bit of dryness. So those are the skin types. Now, the textures of foundations, there's 4 main types. The first is fluids, and these are the ones that I have. I don't use this one. This is what's called a fluid or a liquid. Liquids they're more prevalent in recent years. Basically, there's more options for coverage. Secondly, you have what's called a creamy foundation. It is often thicker than a liquid foundation. It's oily in nature and it's more for dry to combination skin. Powder foundation. Now, due to it being a powder form, it works more for oily skin types. It absorbs the oil in your skin and it regulates the shine. The powder foundations on the market come in either a loose or a packed form. And lastly, there is what is called a stick foundation. If you're going to go with a stick foundation, it is more better for oily skin and not for much dry skin. Now, in the beauty world, you're gonna hear the term coverage a lot, especially with foundation. What is coverage? Coverage is essentially the opacity of the foundation. It's pretty much how much it will conceal the skin. There are mainly 4 different types of coverage. There is sheer, light, medium, and full. Sheer coverage contains the least amount of pigment in that it is going to be the most transparent. So if you're not going for a super theatrical look, it's more for an everyday thing, this might work for you. Light coverage covers unevenness and slight blotchiness. For those who have freckles out there, it is not heavy enough to cover up the freckles that perhaps you don't want. Medium coverage is a happy middle ground. It covers up freckles, dark circles, discoloration, blotchiness, and red marks made by pimples. Then you have full coverage. coverage, which is very opaque. There's a lot of pigment left in the formula. This is the type of coverage that will cover birthmarks, vitiligo, vitiligo, I am so sorry, hyperpigmentation, and scars. In fact, it gets the job done so well that it is often referred to as corrective or camouflage. Now we know coverage, texture, and skin types. What is the foundation really gonna look like on the skin? This is when you go into the types of finish. Of course, you have firstly the matte foundation, which is the Studio Fix. Matte is essentially what it is on a car. It reflects no light. It works for oily and combination skin. Next is what's called a sheer finish. Sheer enhances the skin rather than masks it. This is generally, it works for all skin types. Next is what's called a dewy finish. It's got a youthful and radiant looking finish. Dewy tends to work for dry or mature skin types. And you have what's called a satin finish, which is pretty much a combination between dewy and matte, generally for all skin types. And now we get into possibly the most important step in determining what foundation is going to work for you, and it's something called skin undertones. Skin undertones are the muted color underneath your skin surface. Your surface skin tone can change, but your undertones never change. Now there are several types of skin undertones. Now the main ones are cool, warm, and neutral. Now when you have a cool undertone, you have more of red and pink with bluish hints that are inherently in your skin. A warm undertone is generally characterized by being yellow, peachy, and golden. You have what's called neutral, which is kind of a mix between the warm and the cool. Think of it as a combination of pink and yellow together. The main spectrum of skin undertones is pretty much, it goes like this. It goes from the lightest being silver, pink, peach, neutral, yellow, olive, and red. Now the cool hack ways to understand your skin undertones, certain things to determine which one you are could be your eye type. If you have blue eyes, you're more likely to have more of a cool undertone. It could depend on the jewelry that you wear. If you tend to look better with silver jewelry, you likely have a cool undertone. If you wear gold jewelry, turns out you might possibly be a warmer undertone. And obviously this has been debated for a little bit. You could determine it by the veins at the back of your hand. I don't know if you can really see it, but I tend to have kind of blue, purplish. So the way veins work in this way is that if you have blue, purplish veins, you're likely a cool undertone. If you tend to be on the warmer side, you will likely have more greenish veins. And neutral, again, which is a combination, you're likely gonna have purpley, greenish veins. So why is undertone so important? It's because when you are going after a shade and you think it's generally matching your skin, it might actually not, because if you are a cool undertone and then you get something that is more of a warmer foundation, you're gonna have a Donald Trump sheen. So how do I pick the foundation now that I understand my undertones? The deal is that foundations typically have a name that would suggest what your undertones are, the one that you're looking for. For example, in this one, this is actually my girlfriend's, a Revlon. This one's gonna tell you ivory. So that pretty much tells you it's going to be in the silver pink category. There are other names like cool buff or warm beige, and you can pretty quickly pick up on there. The other terms that show up on bottles of foundation that I think might be informative for you to know are something called long wear, as in it's pretty much telling you it lasts a while. It stays on your face for a longer period of time. The rule of thumb with foundation is once you go past 14 to 16 hours, that's kind of a no-no. You don't want to have, product on your face for longer than that. A lot of bad shit can happen. You have blemish control, as in it doesn't clog your pores and it will treat acne. You have anti-aging, of course, as in it has added benefits to slow down the signs of aging. You have hydrating, of course, in that it hydrates your skin. An evening tone is characterized by a flawless base and a smooth texture. And you're gonna see this on a lot of foundations, SPF. That's right. A lot of foundations put in stuff that's going to protect you from UV rays. So for example, my girlfriend's is an SPF 20. This is an SPF 15, the Maybelline. And my Studio Fix from MAC is a 15. It says it on a lot of bottles. Now we're up to the big elephant in the room. How do I cover up my dreaded facial hair? How do I cover up the beard? How do I cover up the stash? All right, here's the thing. I want to make this its own separate video because I want to add a lot of different options, and it's gonna end up being a lot longer to fulfill this one question in a foundation basics video. Things I can tell you is do not, this is something I did, do not try to cover up your facial hair with a lot of concealer or a lot of foundation. The thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna look cakey. It's clearly evident you have excessive product in that area, and you're drawing attention to an area you're trying to conceal in the first place. And another thing I will tell you is that foundation that is full coverage is not necessarily gonna solve the problem with facial hair. So stay tuned for a video with that. We're just talking about the basics of foundation right now. Okay, so now we know the general types of foundation, knowing your skin tone, knowing the various types of foundation on the market. We're gonna go into a store, I guess only drugstores right now, and we're going to pick out the best foundation for you. Now, for a lot of people coming out, a lot of this is very new, very alien, and it's very intimidating to go into a makeup store, into any regular drugstore, and pick out cosmetic items. They're basically going to be makeup testers in some stores, and then there's going to be mainly the drugstores where they don't let you test stuff. You basically got to buy it at face value, hopefully make sure it works. Let's just say in the perfect world, perfect circumstance, you're going into, say, a Sephora where there are testers. And this allows you to pretty much test the foundation on your face. Now, something that is kind of debated, I'm not really sure. If you're testing out a foundation, if you're testing out a shade, it's pretty much not the best idea to test it on your hand, the back side of your hand, or the back side of the forearm. This is a product that's gonna go on your face. Your face has a different shade. It could be either lighter, usually lighter, than your forearm. How do you test a foundation? Take a few that you think are gonna work. You're going to pat some on. This is a very important step. Please follow this step. Follow it down your neck. And the reason being is because you want to make sure that your neck doesn't look strange or it doesn't look weird when you set the foundation on your face. So make sure it matches well with your jawline down to your neck. So I have done the test. This is the MAC brand and this is the Maybelline. So clearly I made a wrong choice with the Maybelline. It's too warm, and as you can see, this one is harder to look at, especially on the neck. That determines it's a much better shade for me. And the reality is, with a lot of makeup stores, their lighting is shit, pretty much. I would suggest if you have like a bunch of foundations you want to try out, I would say try them from the tester, put down the bottles, leave the store, check in a mirror, whatever have you, what it really looks like. It's gonna be harder to determine in that artificial light what is actually gonna work for you once you step out of the store. Next is you're gonna work in your undertones. So again, if you have a warm complexion, pick one that has more of a yellow undertone. On the other hand, if you have more of a cool undertone, get one that has more of a pink vibe. You should understand your skin type. Oily works well with matte. Dry skin tends to work with a finish that is more illuminating. The thing is, when you're buying certain foundations, they determine your shade based on either letters, numbers, or a combination of the two. For example, the shade that I have gotten from MAC for such a long time, it says it on the bottom, an NW10. And this is handy when, you don't have to go through the whole process of testing your shades. You could just go, can I get an NW10 Studio Effects? On other brand names, you have on the Revlon Color Stay, this is a 110 shade. And on the cult favorite of Maybelline Fit Me, this actually appears on the back. It says 115. And the last thing I would want you to do when you're in a makeup store is ask for help. I know in certain places there's going to be a lot of dispute, you're gonna get weird looks, but the thing is, you're always gonna get weird looks. This is something you kind of gotta get over if you're gonna come out and become a woman. Their job is to help customers. Their job is to help you pick the best product for you. Pick someone who is gonna be there with you in person, and they can generally help you and go, okay, I don't know if that one works. This one actually looks great on you. I mean, think about it also in this way. Why would you pick a foundation online when you're still trying to understand the basics? It takes 2 weeks to get to your house, and then you got Donald Trump sheen. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. You're gonna have to come out to the world eventually. Ask for help within the store, please. Okay, so now you have picked out and bought the best, awesome, lovely foundation for you. How do I apply it? How do I put it on my face? These are very important steps. It might be square one of applying your makeup. There are a few extra steps you should take. First thing is shave. I feel like this is a no-brainer. Secondly, wash your face. This is something you should be doing every day, even more than once a day. Not just, the shower doesn't count. When I was a guy, I thought, you just wash your face. You're just like, okay, I'm gonna jump in the shower. I mean, that cleans my face, right? Just wash your face, please. All right, so I have no makeup. This is pretty much what I look like in the morning. There are a few steps you need to take in order to apply foundation, things you need to do beforehand. First thing to do, freaking do up your hair. Alright, so now we are good. I've washed my face, I have shaved. Now, there's a few more things. And secondly, apply a moisturizer and or primer. We're gonna have separate videos for moisturizer and primer. Perhaps you will use both of them. First you would go moisturizer, you go with primer, then foundation comes next. Your beauty routine is going to, once you get the hang of it, it's going to vary from person to person. So in my personal experience, I find once you have just a really good moisturizer, you can put that on and that can kind of act as a primer itself for when you apply foundation. It's a good protectant. So the moisturizer I use is the La Roche-Posay. Before foundation, you gotta protect your skin. Now I have a really good moisturizer. It's not a cheap one. I go with this. You could use a primer as well, but let's protect our face. There's gonna be a lot of taking off and taking on. Let's see what we can do. I am blind as a bat. I can't see shit. Alright, so I have applied my moisturizer, and you want to let your moisturizer slash and or primer to sit on your skin for a couple minutes, let it sink in. A general rundown is that moisturizer is a preparation used for protecting, moisturizing, and lubricating the skin. Now it's not as simple as that, but we'll leave it at that. Primer is a cream or a lotion that you apply before makeup to improve the coverage and extend the amount of time that it's on your face. Essentially, what that means is it gives the makeup something to hold on to, and it is a barrier between protecting your skin, and it's a barrier between the product that is on your face. Follow these routines. Either invest in a good moisturizer or get moisturizer, number one, primer, second step, and foundation. Those are the key steps. If you do this without following that, just put the foundation on, again, people are gonna notice. You have 3 basic ways in which to do this. You have your little fingerlings, you got a sponge or what's called a beauty blender, or you have a good foundation brush. Applying with your hands might actually be a plus. It works better for sheer to light coverage. The thing is that your body heat helps it melt and set into your skin. The problem is once you get into medium to full coverage, it tends to look a little ugly. You're gonna deal with a lot of streakage. Maybe you can make that work. The general viewpoint is that if you're using a full coverage foundation, you're putting it into your face with your fingertips, they're gonna notice. Next is a brush. This obviously works better for liquid or creamy foundations. If you have a very dense brush, the chances are of streaking and dealing with streaks, it's not gonna happen as often because that packs it more into your skin. I think this one's a little too loose for me. And the bigger one I have, I use more for contouring. So I chose a beauty blender. One day I bought it, I never went back. This is hands down my favorite way to apply foundation. Now you can get different shapes of beauty blenders. Mine is kind of a flat edge and it's kind of pointed. So we are going to take my damp beauty blender and we're gonna go with my baby, the MAC Studio Fix. I just love the way this goes on the skin. It's sleek, it's silky, and it sets so well. If you have glasses, it's better to get contacts, but we're gonna see what we can do. So I'm gonna even it out all over my face, get around the stash. I'm actually just looking at the lens, actually. So a lot of people you see tend to apply makeup like this. A lot of the big YouTubers. I don't know if I'm a fan of that because, I don't know, it's like I'm already putting product on my face, now I have to put it on my hand. I tend to just put it either on the brush or on the blender. The thing is, if you're gonna do that, don't go overboard because you can't really put that back in the bottle. I mean, you can, but it's not really sanitary. But that's the thing about foundation is that's what it's called, foundation. Start slow, you know, start with a little bit. Okay, distribute it around your face. And then once you need more, go put more on. It's harder to get rid of all that product and it's easier to build up from that little product that you're gradually putting on. One common mistake you're gonna see people doing is you're gonna see foundation in the hair. Don't put it in your hair. Just dip it in so it's a smooth transition. Another common mistake you're gonna see people doing, and I want you to avoid, is foundation is meant to be blended in. You don't wanna go like, because you're not gonna get a lot of progress. You wanna pat it in, make sure it's set in, get in here. You're gonna wanna get in the ears. I've kind of avoided doing the ears because I was having trouble with my earrings for so long. Big rule of thumb, if you're using a beauty blender, wet it first. There's a lot of reasons for this. The thing is that beauty blenders need to be cleaned more often. It prevents the sponge from absorbing the makeup because if you don't clean this regularly, it is a nightmare to clean. And it distributes the product so much better on the skin when it is wet. And you're gonna wanna blend in, especially at your nose, especially around the round ends, because if you don't blend that in, it's gonna streak like crazy. All right, hopefully I managed to do that in a cohesive manner. So this is my face with the beauty blender and my personal foundation. We are done with foundation basics. Hopefully you have a fundamental understanding of these general terms and how to pick out the right shade for you and what it does. I thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoy. Be sure to give me a like and subscribe because we're gonna do a lot more of this stuff. We're gonna have so much fun. It's gonna be great.